Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Blitzkrieg, our own strategic affairs show. In various interviews across the world, Imran Khan had just one thing to say. Absolutely not. And that is what his Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said. That is what his Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid said. And that is what each and every Pakistani in Imran Khan's cabinet said. Absolutely not. We will not allow American troops on our ground. We will not give them bases. We will not give them land. We will not allow them to fly over Pakistan, use Pakistan's airspace. But now reports coming in last 3-4 days from Islamabad and Karachi and Lahore are that thousands of rooms across hotels have been emptied. Pakistanis can no longer make bookings in those hotels. And those hotels have been reserved for foreign troops, mostly American troops. Today, I have with me two very special guests. I have Sushant Sareen, who is a senior fellow of the Observer Research Foundation. And I have Abdul Samad Yaqoob, who is from, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. He's the spokesperson. Gentlemen, both of you, a very, very warm welcome to our show. I'll start off with Abdul Samad Yaqoob. Abdul Samad Yaqoob, I mean, your Prime Minister said absolutely not. And suddenly one morning, Pakistani media reports that there are thousands of American troops on Pakistani soil. Then Sheikh Rashid goes on television and says, no, this is temporary, within 3 or 4 weeks they'll go. Then again there is a U-turn saying that no, some of them will go, some of them will not go. What is the real deal? What's happening in Pakistan?
The question was asked to Prime Minister regarding the air bases, and he said absolutely not. And this is the clear stance. I mean, even the 10 years ago regarding the evacuation, he said, yes, we will help you out. We will cooperate Americans for the evacuation. And now the exact figure who landed in Islamabad are 10,302 citizens of US, where 9,032 left, and there were among them there were only 155 soldiers and only 42 remaining who might have left as of today. So this is out of question that they are going to stay any longer than a month, because they got the visa from 21 days ranging to 30 days. So this is out of question. I mean, that they are going to stay over here. Yes, sir.
Sushant, Abdul Samad Yaqoob is very, very clear. We are not going to give them, allow them to stay beyond the point. But, this is exactly what they said for those bases. We don't have US bases on Pakistan soil. And those bases were flying drones which were killing Pakistani citizens in the northern areas, in their tribal belt, North Waziristan, etc. It happened for over a decade. It kept on happening. Now, the thing is that nobody believes what Pakistan is saying any longer. Do you think this absolutely not has any value? They did not discuss this with their parliament, Sushant. They did not discuss it with the opposition parties. They did not take the country into confidence. One morning, Pakistan wakes up to these hundreds and thousands of Americans coming into Islamabad. How did this happen? They didn't tell anybody.
No, and I don't think they felt the need to tell anybody. The simple fact of the matter is that there is, Prime Minister Imran Khan can keep saying absolutely not. But ultimately, decisions of foreign policy and security policy are not made by him. He just rubber stamps them, and he is told what to say. Occasionally, he shoots his mouth off, and then the Foreign Office and the ISPR and some other people have to come and do some damage control, because otherwise, that entire elaborate plan which they have made to both help the Americans as well as stab them in the back, that starts coming unstuck because of the kind of public posturing that Imran Khan does for political reasons. But other than that, the decisions of war and peace are not going to be made by him, which is why when they keep saying that, okay, fine, we are not going to be giving any bases, nobody can be sure whether some bases have been given or not. Now, Gaurav, when there were 2 strikes, drone strikes, which happened after August 15th, when the Taliban had taken over, this is, and I'm talking about after the bomb blast on the Kabul airport, there are people who have done studies as to where exactly did these drones fly from. These drones could not have flown from Kabul airport, because you need a proper, system to launch these drones. You just can't take them on any road and just launch these kind of drones. So where did these drones take off from? Now, they could not have taken off from the Gulf because the distance did not allow it. So there is very serious speculation that they took off from Pakistani bases. But even otherwise, even if you for a moment you accept that it wasn't from Pakistan, is Pakistan going to allow its airspace to hostile action against their favorite country, Afghanistan? Are they going to allow the use of their airspace to strike? I would have imagined that absolutely not would have also precluded the use of Pakistani airspace to attack Afghanistan. So maybe, they should shed some light on that.
Right.
I don't think the Americans are using Iran or Central Asia for that.
Yes. I'm saying that, Abdul Samad Yaqub, even if Pakistan, let us assume, while nobody believes that, let us assume that the drones did not take off and land from Pakistan. Let us assume for a minute, academically speaking, and they took off from Qatar or some other place. They still have to fly over Pakistani airspace to reach Kandahar or reach Kabul. Iran is not going to allow it. Iran is not going to allow it. It's only Pakistan. Anyway, my question to you is $2.7 billion in aid was given by the IMF. And within 48 hours or 72 hours of Pakistan receiving that aid, American soldiers started landing in Islamabad. They did not come before. They came after that. Do you think, Abdul Samad Yaqub, there is a direct relation between $2.7 billion which your country got and the US soldiers landing on Pakistani soil?
No, I don't think so. There is any connection between this. But as you said that if we assume that if I assume that these drones have used Pakistani airspace again, I think they targeted the Daesh, and Pakistan is against the Daesh. And I am not sure that what's the policy of Pakistan. As of now, I don't know exactly what is the policy of Pakistan, that they are going to allow their airspace if America need to conduct the airstrike against the Daesh. So this is the point where I also need to get the further information. But these aid, I'm not sure about this, that what is the connection of this aid and these troops. I don't think there is any connection.
Sushant, strangely, Abdul Samad Yaqub, who's the spokesperson of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, says that he doesn't know. And he needs more clarity because he doesn't know if Pakistan is allowing its airspace to be used against Daesh, which is the Islamic State, specifically here the Khorasan chapter, which is active in Afghanistan. He says he doesn't know, but at the same time, he's saying there is no connection between the 2.7 billion aid of IMF and US soldiers landing on Pakistani soil. Now, I think the connection is very clear. There is evidence, even if circumstantial, because till very recently, Pakistan was saying no. It was saying absolutely not. It was saying that, Moeed Yusuf, their NSA, I think who tends to speak a little too much being an NSA of a country, he went on to town giving interviews to all and sundry that no, absolutely not. We will not allow it. They don't discuss it with their parliament. Again, I'm coming back to the same point, Sushant. They don't discuss it in their parliament. They don't discuss it with anybody. Do you think it was not a political decision and it was something that General Bajwa just said that no, we need to get along with the Americans and just do it? Do you think that could be it?
So, Gaurav, I think we need to be clear about, as far as the IMF money is concerned. Number one, this was not an aid. The IMF has increased the quotas of every country. It's about $650 billion across countries around the world. And Pakistan's quota was about $2.5 billion. For example, India's quota is about almost $17 billion. It increased. So our reserves went up by that much money. But in Pakistan's case, what really strikes as extremely odd is that the IMF director, writes a letter asking for certain things. It happens, and just on the very next day, this quota is put in the coffers of the State Bank of Pakistan. Too much of a coincidence, and I don't believe in these kind of coincidences. If they wanted, they could have actually delayed putting these $2.5 billion or thereabouts in the State Bank coffers for pretty long, right? It was not necessary to do it immediately. But that is one part of it. The other part of it is the kind of double games which the Pakistanis are very adept in playing. So yes, at one level, like I said earlier, they will want to keep the Americans on their side because their markets depend on America. Generals' kids go to America. They're rich people. Their families are in America. These guys can't live without America in the West, right? No self-respecting Pakistani ever sends his child to China to study. How many generals' kids have gone to China to study, right? So they will keep the Americans, they want to keep the Americans in good humor. They want the visas. They want all of that, and they want the money to come in. They want the financial flows to come in. China can't bail them out on that. They need the markets. None of that is available with China. At the same time, they need the Chinese to shaft the Americans, which they are doing. They've done it in Afghanistan, and the Americans are, of course, stupid because they've allowed themselves to be taken for a ride, and they've succumbed to the constant nuclear blackmail of the Pakistanis. So that is the game, and that is a razor's edge which the Pakistanis have been walking for 20 years, and if you want, even longer. And I don't think that game is ending anytime soon.
Right. You know, Abdul Samad Yaqub, I want to ask you, and this question has been done to death, frankly, and it's old news. It's not breaking news. It's not of today. It's old hat. But I still want to ask you, you know, Neelam Irshad Sheikh, who's your colleague in the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, she actually said that, you know, the Taliban will free Kashmir for Pakistan. Now, what I want to ask you is not this. My question is that there are many people in Pakistan who genuinely believe that sometimes it could be China, it could be Turkey, it could be the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, it could be any other country except Pakistan that will, quote unquote, free Kashmir and make it part of Pakistan. Now, do you also agree with Ms. Irshad when she said that Taliban will help Pakistan liberate Kashmir and make Kashmir a part of Pakistan? Do you subscribe to her theory? Do you think
No,
this is what
certainly,
Pakistan would like that to be?
No, certainly not. As I had watched her statement, I contacted with the Secretary of Information, Central Secretary of Information, Ahmed Jawad, and they had issued show cause notice right away and given her the 3 days period to respond, or they could terminate her membership, or they can take any illegal action against her within the constitution of the party. So, and it was clearly mentioned that neither the Imran nor the party stands with this statement, and this is not their policy. But here I would like to respond or would like to add something in Mr. Sushant. Yes, there was a time when I personally feel that Pakistan played a sort of double game when the Prime Minister Gilani was Premier of Pakistan, and he met, according to the WikiLeaks, he met the ambassador, Miss Wendy Chamberlain, and he said to her that you keep drone strikes as far as you get the right people, and we will keep protesting on the floor of the House. So this I found the double game. I mean, they had the two faces on the floor of the House. They were protesting and in the private meetings with the American ambassador, and they were saying that you keep it up as far as you get the right person.
You know, Sushant, there were very interesting sort of these videos on Pakistani television and these debates on Pakistani television in which a lot of people seem to think that the Taliban are miffed and a little upset with Pakistan because the Pakistanis have been publicly going around and taking responsibility for the so-called Taliban success. You see, on one hand, the Prime Minister and the External Affairs Minister will say that, okay, we congratulate the Taliban, this is a freedom movement, they are freedom fighters, blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, you have a whole lot of people from the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and other so-called analysts on Pakistani television who say that, no, Pakistan was responsible. Now, this is upsetting the Taliban. And that is what I'm hearing even from Kabul, that they're not very happy with Pakistan trying to take, a lion's share of the credit. Pakistanis did exactly that when the Russians, went back and they crossed the Amur River in 1989, Sushant. The Pakistanis went to town saying that we have defeated a superpower. Hamid Gul was on record saying that we, the Pakistanis, have defeated a superpower called the USSR. Now, Pakistan had very little role to play apart from funneling weapons and money and acting like a go-between, a trader. It was not like the Pakistanis, actually went and fought. Fought they did in some sort of small quantities and volumes. They did fight there, no doubt. But they made it out as if it was Pakistan's victory and not the victory of the Mujahideen over the USSR. I'd like your comments on this, please, Sushant.
Yeah, Gaurav, the current, what has happened over the last 20 years, I think we must give the Pakistanis their due. This is their victory. They've planned it, they strategized it, they used the Taliban to defeat the Americans, and they have occupied Afghanistan. The Taliban is basically a proxy of the Pakistanis, and Afghanistan is technically a colony of Pakistan, actually technically a colony of Punjab now. I don't think there can be any denying that fact. Just yesterday there was a report that now Pakistani army generals are going to go into Afghanistan and going to take care of security and how the Taliban have to organize security. You only do this when it's a colonial project. You don't do it with a friendly country. So it's a very, very clear thing. So I can understand the jubilation in Pakistan, the excitement in Pakistan. Now, the problem, the disconnect is that the people who did everything on the ground want to still keep this under the wraps, which is the Pakistani military establishment. But people in the ruling party, especially Mr. Yaqub's party, they were the guys. Mr. Yaqub is now saying that, that lady shot her mouth off and, we've taken action against her. But she's not the only one who shot her mouth off. Virtually every second person in their party has been gloating. And who started this trend? Taliban are guardians. Who started this trend? Now, guardians will also protect you and win you territory. But that's besides the point. The important thing is that the military establishment wants to keep this under the wraps. The Taliban also want to keep it under the wraps because, listen, no servant wants to know that he's a servant and there is a Punjabi master sitting over him. वैसे भी, look, in Pakistan, the Punjabis treat the Pashtuns as चौकीदार. They think the Pashtuns are only good for चौकीदारी. कि घर के बाहर के दरवाजे पे वो होता है चौकीदार होता है वो पश्तून होगा. So the same चौकीदारी has been given to Kabul. That is what is happening now. And obviously these guys, but the Taliban don't want to admit it. When this guy Zabiullah Mujahid says it's my second home, it was not his second home. He's a 30, 40-year-old man. For the last 25 years, he's been living in Pakistan.
Okay.
That is his first home.
Absolutely. Sushant, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm absolutely out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this special episode of Blitzkrieg. We had a very interesting discussion. I'll see you again next week with another special set of guests. And from here in the studios, from my team and I, Jai Hind.